Hi, Jane Harling here, womenpropertybuyers.co.uk. Now, I don't know about you, but this time of year, we're busy thinking about, what we're going to be doing next year. How can we make next year even better than this year? What can we do differently? What can we do to maximise the bottom line, the profit, and so on? And I guess you're thinking pretty much the same things. One of the things that we've noticed out there for seeing what everybody's doing sort of on the internet and talking to various people at property meetings is that there's very much a limiting belief that people are putting on themselves. And we'd just like you to challenge you, just particularly with regards to the strategy that we follow, property conversions, just to sort of just remove this limitation, and you could find a whole new world out there. So what am I talking about here? Well, for a start, everybody talks about office to flat conversions, commercial to resi. You'd think that's all there actually is, but that's really just a tiny, tiny part of the strategy. For instance, do you need to start with a commercial building in the first place? No, you don't. You can start with a residential building, and if it is commercial, it doesn't have to be the office building that everybody immediately, thinks of. It can be a retail unit, it can be offices, it can be warehousing, light industrial, it can be farm buildings, it can be almost anything that you can start with and convert to a more profitable, more productive use according to what the end demand is in that area. And does it always have to go residential in the end? Does it always have to end up as flats? No, of course not. Because we love commercial tenants. And often the best use is maybe to keep it commercial, but perhaps for a different end user and perhaps a different size unit and so on. So just consider that it needn't go necessarily residential anyway, because commercial tenants can be an awful lot less hassle to deal with than residential tenants. We love commercial property, very profitable. But okay, just say that you do want it to go residential. All people seem to tell us about is how they're converting properties into flats, apartments. Indeed, in some areas we go into, there are so many apartments that they're really struggling to sell, so on. And often apartments can be one of the first types of property to be hit in a downturn, which is something to bear in mind. And sometimes squeezing the absolute maximum you can into a unit isn't the most profitable way to go about it. For instance, the project we're just about to start on would converted very, very nicely into 12, 14 apartments and so on. And we ran the figures on it and it would have worked. However, it's far, far more exciting a project, instead of splitting it horizontally, to split it vertically, into reducing the intensity down to 7 townhouses. Much more profitable. Less is indeed more where this particular property was involved. So it's not always a question of squeezing everything you can in. Sometimes just run the figures, just run past and just look at who is the end user, how are you going to be able to sell, what price, what's the difference in costs, because sometimes the bottom line, the GDV may be much lower, but the bottom line can be hugely higher. And it doesn't even have to be a single unit, does it either? Why does it have to be a single flat or a single house? Consider also that you could convert it into multi-lets or HMOs, cluster flats, retirement living, for instance. Could do a co-work living space and so on. Could do holiday letting, serviced accommodation. Do you see what I mean? That is kind of just taking an office and turning it into a flat is so very limiting. So remove those limits from your mind and go out there and take a look at property and just think, what is the best use for this and so on. And sometimes you could be quite surprised at the whole new world that will open up for you. And 2018 could indeed be very, very exciting for you if you follow that guidance. So I hope that's been some help. This is Jane Harling from womenpropertybuyers.co.uk.